Welcome once again to 720 and 720. Very informative guest, a very experienced guest. I guess that means, Pete, you're old, but I didn't say that. I said experienced. But we've got a guy who has coached on all levels, been successful on all levels. In the NCAA tournament, he's coached for, Pete, 48 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, just retired after 48 straight years.
That means you're not real intelligent because you did it for so long. We have Pete Herrmann. Pete Herrmann, who actually is very famous for coaching very famous guys in NCAA tournaments and at the University of Georgia, finished up his career at Young Harris. Coach Pete Herrmann, welcome to 720 and 720.
Thanks. I'll tell you, John, it's a pleasure to be here, and it's always a pleasure to talk to you about basketball and about coaching. And you're one of the guys that was a worker at it and good to the game and good to players. And those guys today are not a dime a dozen. They don't come along that often.
Well, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna figure out why and what's happened to the game and how we can help the game and how you can, after 48 years of coaching, how we can still impact young guys and young coaches because they're growing up they're coming. It's like my children, Pete. They're coming up at a different time and maybe not at a good time for some things. But I mean, tell us first of all. I know you coached at a high level, but you did not start at a high level. How long were you coaching in high school?
Well, a lot of young coaches today will say to me, Coach Herrmann, how did you get to coach in the biggest leagues in America, in the ACC, in the SEC, in the Big 8 before it was the Big 12? And I said, look, I'm very old school. I started coaching junior high school in 1970, a long time ago, 50 years ago. And, I went from junior high to junior varsity in high school and then coached varsity high school before I went to Navy as an assistant. And I tell young coaches all the time. So, I'm not someone that, if you want to jump from being a player in college to being a college coach, I'm not someone that's going to suggest that to you or tell you how that's done. I'm old school. Do the job where you are. Don't be thinking about the next job or how can I get to this certain level. Be available to your players, coach them, teach them at the job that you're at.
You're talking about like be present where you are. And a lot of young coaches, and a lot of older coaches that they're coaching and they're looking around. It's kind of like being at the Final Four and talking to only the important people. Just be where you are and coach where you are. And if you're good enough and you grind enough, people will recognize that. But people also, Pete, I'm a believer that that people also recognize the BS guys out there who are just looking for that next job. Correct or incorrect?
Well, that's always going to be prevalent in any industry, in any kind of job. Teachers want to become principals, and principals want to become superintendents, and coaches, they want to go from junior high to varsity high school to Division I, right away. And I always tell them, look, you've got to get mentors. You've got to get teachers and mentors that help you. And along the way, I found, when I was first in high school, there was a very, very good high school coach, varsity high school coach that brought me along and taught me how to coach in high school. I can remember my very first junior high game. I was all amped up and excited, and we didn't score for the first quarter of the game, and I'm yelling and screaming, and the head coach who was reffing the game said to me, Pete, sit down and calm down. I said, but we haven't scored yet, and he said to me, Pete, you haven't shot yet. You you turn
So,
the ball over every time.
hey,
So
I'll
I
tell you.
said, so I yelled out, shoot, shoot,
Oh, I
and the
know.
kid
Hey,
was just
Pete.
coming across half court, and he shot it, and it went up in the rafters, and and I said, there, we shot now.
Well, let me just tell you something. You went from there to be coaching David Robinson in the NCAA tournament at Navy, and I got similar stories. I was a JV basketball coach, and I had the same mentors, and we're going to talk about mentors in a second. But I was so we're at Unicoi County, a JV game, and we scored 4 points, I think, in the first half. And I said, I don't understand why we can't score. And my boss said, well, you're running your offense great, but you didn't teach them how to score out of the offense. But you're
Yeah,
running the
that's
offense fantastic. There's so much
yeah,
stuff that goes in. But kind of going back to mentors, I had Alan LaForce, who was the head coach at East Tennessee State, and he just took an
great coach.
interest in me. And
Yep.
we would talk about the flex. I would go up in his office. I was a young guy, and I would go and I would just learn how to coach, and I'd learn the
Yep.
flex, and I'd learn
Yeah.
this. And I don't
And
think go ahead. I think that's vital with growth for young coaches.
well, one of my mentors when I was at Navy, um, coming out of high school, going into Division One, was a guy named Steve Belichick, who's Bill Belichick's father. And Steve was on the football staff at Navy. And I watched him go about his business. He didn't have a direct title, and a lot of people said they didn't know what Steve was doing. But every day he was in that office, and every day he was preparing the Navy team for their next game. And he went about his business as a teacher and mentor, with a quiet determination to do well. And I learned an awful lot from Steve. And I told Bill, who was growing up then in Annapolis, and I always told Bill that I was very proud to be associated with his dad, who was very, very good to the game. And I think, you've got to find mentors that have been good to the game, that are gonna help you by teaching the game, and by you can see how the rapport with players builds when they know that you're teaching them how to play, how to compete, and you're teaching with a lot of enthusiasm. And that I think is early in your coaching tenure, you've got to do that, because coaching is teaching, and teaching is the big bulk of what you're doing all the time, including to your coaches. And you're teaching your players, but you're also teaching your staff and your coaches. And I've had more calls this year, from my assistants and from former bosses of mine, and mentors of mine. And then that's when you know that the game has been good to you, and you've been good back to the game.
Well, I think you make a great point. You can learn, a basketball coach can learn from a football coach. Alan LaForce always told me, he said, whatever job you get, go visit with two groups. And I said, what are they? He said, all the custodians, make sure you know them by first name and that you become their friend. And then get with the football coaches, because the football coaches we're going to number one, they're going to run the school, and number two, they know how to teach, and they know how to coach, and it's a great relationship, and
Well,
so we always
you
did
know,
that.
and I always had close relationships with guys like Steve Belichick, and then Bobby Stoops and Bill Snyder in Kansas, and Mark Richt at Georgia, and just a lot of different football coaches that were always questioning, and always looking at how to make things better. And then of course in basketball, then I mean I worked for just great people, and learned from. I mean, Dana Altman is this super guy, and Jeff Jones was great to me at Virginia, Uh, you know, and I learned from those guys. Larry Brown, I've always been very close to, and I just think he's one of the, if not the finest, the one of the finest basketball coaches in the country. And you know, I just think you have to learn, and you've got to have mentors, and then you've got to teach with enthusiasm, and you can't be looking over your shoulder to the next position that you want to get to. You've got to teach your guys, and I still meet with my junior high kids from 50 years ago in the summer, because because they want to and they're enthused and they have grandkids and everything now, but it's still talking about the game and still believing in what you do.
And most of those guys that you're meeting with most of them are talking about things that you taught them and off the court, or a funny story off the court doesn't have anything to do with the W&L. And that's what young guys got to understand, that the game, as we're getting older, the game is so good to us, and it's not about the W's and L's. It's about the relationships. It's about teaching the right thing on and off the court. It's about making sure that there's a consequence and you show up late for practice, so that they understand when they go get a job they can't do that. It's about integrity. It's
Oh,
about loyalty. It's about all those things. Because I mean, I remember my first NCAA tournament. I was getting emails and calls from guys that I coached in JV back in 1986, and
sure.
we had a great time in those JV games. That's the neat, and I think young coaches need to understand. It doesn't matter what level. A game is a game is a game, and so if you're a junior high coach, those games should be important, and they are important. And to you, they should be just as important as Duke, Carolina, and
Well,
that's how I did it.
yeah, and growing up like you just said to me, I was coaching junior high school. Who would know that I would be coaching in the NCAA tournament and be coaching the finest player in the nation. And when I retired last year, my daughter had a surprise retirement party for me in Athens, Georgia. And guys came from everywhere, from Navy, from Kansas, from Virginia, and you know what they when they say to you, Coach, what you did for us was, we had a good team. We like at Virginia. When I came to Virginia, we had maybe the best team that I've ever been around to coach. We got beat in the Elite Eight by Arkansas on a Scotty Thurman three in the last minute, and that team I thought could have won the national title at Virginia. But what they said to me was, Coach, when you came to that staff, we had a good team and we had a good staff, but you lent a little more enthusiasm. You lent a different kind of way to get us to play even better than we were. And things like that, John, are precious to you. When you retire, when you get to Christmas and you get Thanksgiving and you get all your former players are sending you notes and sending you texts. Coach, it's I'm thankful that you were in my life, and that means more than all the all the coach of the year and getting fired and all that stuff that
Well,
happens in the game.
if you could almost rewind it, and that's what I want to do with you, is teaching young guys the right things early, and it's not necessarily how fast you can move up the ladder, because all those guys who are moving up the ladder are going to move down the ladder sometime. So just take your time, build relationships, do things right. It's a process. What you kind of talked about is paying your dues, and I mean, I used to pay my dues. I used to get done with school, and I would go to 7 or 8 different basketball camps and work camp after camp after camp after camp. I met all my people working camps. That's why I would always suggest to young coaches, go work camps. You never know who you meet. You never know who you'll learn from, and the relationships you pick up along the way, and that's part of paying your dues. And those are the good times in the summer, and I think you can learn. But I mean, I don't know. Did you work camps when you went from junior high to JV to varsity in
Oh
the
yeah,
summer?
I worked. Oh yeah, I worked down in the Poconos. I worked at St. Bonaventure because I grew up in Buffalo and I was teaching near Rochester. And I worked those camps. as many of those as I could fit in the summer, coaching in high school, and I was, I became a better coach after like 15, 18 years. I was a much better coach at Young Harris than I was at Navy
Well,
because,
I'm going to interrupt you on that because I want coaches to understand this because I've been on coaches, coaches and a lot of high school coaches and college coaches are always busting their kids' tail because they don't work. You got to work in the summer. You got to work. You got to get in the gym. Well, while you're busting your kid's tail to get in the gym, what are you doing as a coach? Are you working on your game? Or are you playing golf? Are you hanging out and you're not working on your game and you're resting on your laurels? Work on your game. I always felt like the same thing that you just said. I almost get to the point where I'd look back at the year previous and go, God almighty, I was terrible last year. I mean, the stuff that I've learned this summer, I'm going to use. Why didn't I know that last year? So I've really felt like I continue to get better as a basketball coach in my knowledge. And so you felt the same way. You felt like you were a better coach at Young Harris than you were at Georgia or Navy.
I was definitely a better coach at Young Harris than I was early in my career at Navy, and I think that what you do is, back then, I mean, you look at who's very successful, and I always thought that Bobby Knight was the most successful guy in the country, and so my teams were going to be just like Bobby Knight's teams. Well, you can't do that. You have to develop your own philosophy on the game, and you've got to make sure that your players are comfortable with how they're playing. I got a call last year from the head coach at Georgia College, and he said to me, "Coach, I want my teams at Georgia College in Division II to play like your teams played." I asked my players at the end of last year, how many of you guys liked the way we played, how we played, and nobody raised their hand. And I said to him, well, this is not easy. You've got to start it in August or September. As soon as you start school, you got to start the philosophy of, we're going to run with the ball, and we're going to try to get a man advantage every possession, 5-on-4, 4-on-3, 3-on-2. But that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of belief in how to play, how you can win by playing that way, and the players have got to buy in. They all say they want to run, but they don't want to run every possession. And so, when I talked to him, he started to put it in, and they had an enjoyable year this year playing that way. And I know that you base it on your personnel. When we had David Robinson, we were going to base it all on getting the ball inside and playing off of that. And I didn't do a good enough job in developing that. Now today's game is totally different than then. You
Well,
know, it's
going back to David Robinson, how on earth? I think the younger generation, like David, who? No, okay. So David Robinson, as I grew up, was one of my heroes. How on earth did David Robinson end up at Navy? And I'm assuming he grew after he got to Navy.
Well, we recruited him. He was about a 6'6" forward out of Woodbridge, Virginia, and he was not very good. He was a very very good athlete. As a matter of fact, he wanted to be a gymnast.
Wow,
How about that?
wow.
And he wasn't a great player. I saw him play, I think, three times, and he had a total of, I think, 8 points in the three times that I saw him. But
In
I
high
thought he could
school.
run. Yeah, and this was in high school. I thought he could run, and I thought he had the chance to become a running, athletic forward type.
He had a chance to be
Um,
decent. You didn't think he had a chance to be one of the top 25 players to ever play the game.
oh no, it wasn't even close. David didn't like it as a freshman in college. He didn't like it, the physical nature of the game. He wasn't. He was playing behind. We had a 6'10" senior then at Navy, and our team was pretty good. Um,
So how much
and
did he play as a freshman?
not a lot. I mean, he played some. He played some, but he only averaged a couple points. And
Sophomore.
and Then, in between freshman and sophomore year, we sent him to he grew. He grew to about 6'10", 6'11", from 6'6". He just kept growing. And we sent him to a USA basketball team to going to Spain. And it wasn't one of the real good teams. It was kind of a lower end of the USA teams. And I can remember David came back as a sophomore. And he said to me in my office, "Coach, I think I could be pretty good at this game." And I said, "Why do you say that, Dave?" And he said, "Well, because I played against men over in Europe, and I held my own, and I could outrun all of the big guys." And I said, "Okay, well, what kind of a player do you think you need to be?" And he said, "Well, at that time there were guys like you know Tom Boerwinkle and the big centers around, Robert Parrish and he said, "Oh, I need to be a running center, a guy could. I need to be much better shooter." I said, "No, Dave, you don't need to be a much better. You need to be a great shooter. You have got to become a great shooter." And he went to work on that and had a great sophomore year, but then really broke out in his junior year in a tournament at Southern Illinois, was where he was Sports Illustrated Player of the Week. He had like 50 points and 40 rebounds in that tournament, and from there on he was terrific. And David was very unassuming, very humble, never very cocky, but always improving and always a better person than he was a player. And
What's amazing to me is that he didn't love it. He didn't love it coming out of high school. He didn't love it as a freshman at Navy. Correct?
no, he was more into becoming a naval officer, and he was a great student, especially a math student, and this was going to be his future, in the Navy.
Well,
And then,
yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that should tell us that everybody kind of clicks at different times because my 13-year-old's driving me absolutely crazy because my oldest plays with all kind of energy and my 13-year-old doesn't. And so, can you give me David's cell number when we get off of here? I'll have David Robinson call my 13-year-old. We can get him going. All right.
well,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
in developing the team, now we had David was a great player, but Vernon Butler, who was the other forward for us, was not the other forward. He was second in the history of the school in scoring and rebounding, and he was a terrific team player. And we had a guard from Oregon named Kyler Whitaker, and Kyler was probably the best basketball player that we recruited there in those years when our teams were terrific. And he was just the ultimate scorer, shooter, guard who kept all the players happy. And then Doug Wojcik was our point guard, and Doug was a great passer and a tremendous ball handler and a great leader on the floor. So the team was good. Cliff Reese was very good, and another guard. We were good as a team.
Well, if you ask Wojcik said he was better than Robinson. Is this correct? I mean, that's every time I talked to Woj, he said he was better than Robinson. He made David Robinson, and exactly that was my sentiments. Exactly, Pete. I just looked at Woj and just started giggling, and I was like, "Your boy's going to be a lot better than you anyway, so just get over it." All right, Coach, give us some thoughts. Give us some more thoughts about for young coaches. What can whether forget about their young assistant coaches or whatever. They're young coaches. They're coming out of college. And don't worry about trying to move up the ranks. What do they need to learn? What do they need to do? I think finding a mentor in their area is so easy. It could be a college coach taking them interest. It could be an older high school coach. And older high school coaches love that. So number one, finding a mentor is a great idea. Give me some other thoughts.
Well, I think that a lot of guys in the NBA today, players, they rely on their shooting coaches, or they rely on a coach that they're learning to be better in their skills. And I think younger coaches, you've got to uh, you've got to make sure that the players understand how to play, and that they improve their skills to the point where they're confident that they can be good in the game. And that's a hard thing. That's a hard thing to get players when they're working on their games to be working at game speed, to be working with you know you can't throw a million things at them, but you've got to have little phrases and little things that help them become a better shooter, help them become a better ball handler, help them get a feel for the game. I think one of the things that I did as an older coach, much better than I did when I was a younger coach, was every day at practice we would do about 3 or 4 sessions of 4-minute games where me and my assistant would ref and the players would play, and they had to learn how to play the game. They had to learn in a 4-minute segment how to play the game. And, you would throw in as a coach, you would throw in, all right, now this situation, what are you doing? Time and situation in the game. What do you need to do here? What's important here in the last minute? You're down 4. What do you need to do? And I just think that, you know, John, at little, we have 6. I had 6 young. I have 6 players playing professionally now from Young Harris, a little school that didn't even have a basketball program when we built it 8 or 9 years ago. And we have 6 guys that have gone on and they're playing in Europe. They're not playing in. They're playing in Spain. They're playing in Portugal. They're playing in the major leagues and making money. And I think that I had a player named C.J. Wilson who maybe was the best kid and best player that I've coached no matter what level. And CJ, and that includes David too. And CJ always told me, Coach, I can't wait to get back to tell you how good it was to play for you. You learned how to play the game. And the coaches I have in Europe, that's how we play. And I think that all comes from mentoring, from Larry Brown, from people like that you learn from and you looked up to, and they were good teachers. And David Robinson said to me, I said to him once, David, who's the best coach you've ever had? He said, oh, Larry Brown. Coach Brown made me a pro. He made me a pro. How did he do that? Well, he worked with me so much on my inside moves and my offensive game. And, those are things that you've got to do. A young coach, get with your players when you're instructing, when you're teaching, make sure you're enthused about that and you're giving them ways that they can be better, because the better they get, the more they'll respect you. And it's all about respect, but you can't just demand respect because your name is Coach so and so. You've got to earn that from the players. And I think that's where you help them become better.
I think you earn. I think the first thing you do is you earn it. You gotta show them that you're there for them, that you love them and care for them, and you're there for them. And if you're there for them, then they appreciate the work that you put in. But going back to your 4-minute games, and I'm convinced about this. I've talked to a bunch of coaches about this year. I got all these coaches that call me and go, golly, we're 10-14, but we lost 5 games in the last 3 minutes of the game, and we can, everybody works on their offensive sets and defensive sets and all under OB and side OB. I just suggested. I said, why don't you if you're losing games in the last 4 minutes of the game, every day play 4-minute games.
Every day.
And do not, and I love what you did, because this is what I used to do. Play 4-minute games and don't, the score's tied with 4 minutes to go. And everything's going to be a situation, and every possession is going to be a different situation. Don't put the situation already up there. Let them figure out and get themselves into a jam or get themselves to a 5-point lead, and then kind of take notes as you go. And then somebody's going to win that game and somebody's going to lose it. And then all you're going to do is say, Tommy, why on earth would y'all shoot early in the shot clock when you're up 5? What are you doing? Explain to me what are you doing right there, Coach?
Well,
I don't know. We made a mistake there, and why would you foul?
You've got to get you've got to get your players to do that.
Absolutely.
They have to say to each other, time and situation. What do we need here? They've got to do that. And we would switch the teams around. We'd have, our 12th man would be with the 1, 2, first and second guys that are really
Absolutely.
good, and then everybody switched around. And we would say, okay, now this team, you're up 7, 4 minutes to play. Okay, now you gotta come back, or you gotta maintain the lead. And they've got to learn. I think that won us so many games all the way, because there wasn't that urgency that, geez, we're 10-14, but we lost 4 games in the last 2 minutes. There's not that anymore.
If you play those games every day, and they know the answer. See, as a coach, I think here's where we screw up. I think that us coaches know what we want, and it doesn't matter if we know. The only thing that matters is if they know. So the players have to figure out. The players got to figure out things at the end of the game, because we're not going to be able to tell them everything.
Oh, I look right in their faces in timeouts at late in games. Fellas, this is what we do every day. All right, now, what are we going to do in this situation? And they'll answer.
And as soon as you say that, this is what we do every day. As soon as you say that to them,
boom,
they have instant confidence that,
yes,
oh my gosh, it's like taking an algebra test and you studied nonstop every day for it for the past 3 months. You're going to do well on the algebra test. If you work on it every single day, it's no big deal. This is what we do every day. This is who we are, and let's go do it.
And as a young coach, you don't want to be the guy. You want to be part of your team. That's what you want to be. You don't want to be, how about that play I designed in the last? That's not what it's about. You want to be as much of the game as your players are, but together with them. And that's what you've got to get as a young coach, so that everywhere that you go, that's your reputation. Man, the guy's a really good guy. He's really gonna help our team.
I don't know if you did this as a young coach, but I think to throw this out to young coaches, I used to, and this was a long time ago, I'm showing my age, I used to record, like if you're an Indiana fan, then you used to record all the IU games. I was a fan of certain programs, and every time they came on TV, I would record them and I would watch them, and I'd watch how they guarded ball screens, and I'd watch how they pressed, and I'd watch their offense, and I tried to learn. I was a student of the game that way, and I don't know if I think sometimes we watch games just to I don't watch games for enjoyment. I watch games to see how people are defending this and defending the post and defending how they defended under OB. Did you watch a lot as you were growing up? Did you even have a TV? There were probably no TVs when you were young, Pete. So later on. What are you giggling for? All right, I mean, it's hard to learn off the radio, man.
Come on, man. I'm not 100 years old, but I did listen to a lot of games on radio.
Did you watch? You used to watch and try to learn from other programs and watch the games in a different way than most people do?
I think that the older I got, the less I watched.
Did you really?
I mean, I think so. Because you're so caught up with your own team and schedule and league and all that you don't watch a lot of.
I would try to watch Dean Smith. I would try to watch Carolina.
Well, I mean, now I was in those leagues, so you had to kind of watch them.
I would try to steal something from Dean Smith, whether it be a trap out of a 2-3 or their 40 series or their 30 series, just trying to steal something from somebody so we would never get stale.
Yeah, I think we all did that. And, we had Jim Boeheim's 2-3 zone, and all of us tried to learn from that. And I think that
you learn that you need to have a 6'10", 6'11", and 7'1" guy on the back end, and you're in good shape playing that zone.
I came out of high school and was an assistant at Navy, and then got the head coaching job at Navy. And now my first 3 games as a college head coach were against Jim Valvano was the first game. Second game was against a Hall of Famer, Larry Costello, who was a Hall of Fame player with the Bucks. And the third game was against Judd Heathcote. So I thought, what are you doing?
Yes, it's
You
called
you
bad
you, you
scheduling,
are
Coach.
you are not even close to being the coaches that these guys are.
Well,
But I had an All American and we won all three games. Well, no, we lost to Jimmy in the first 3 point game with a 3 point shot. We lost on a disputed 3 point goal. It wasn't a 3 point goal, but they didn't have replay and all that stuff back then. And it was the first game with the 3 point goal, and the other two games we won. And Judd always kidded me all the time, about you don't know what you're doing, coaching. You just have Robinson.
yeah, well, like the Jimmys and Joes,
And he
not the
was
X's and
right.
O's, the Jimmy and Joes. Well, and I
Yeah.
think you got to have both. Just Jimmy and Joes just doesn't get it done. It can help you, but you still got to have discipline and
Well, those really good
structure.
players, they have to believe in you. They gotta they gotta want to play for you.
Yep.
That's part of it too. They gotta want to play for you.
I want to ask you because I want to ask you because I remember the night that it happened and I remember the crazy weekend. But just kind of get in your head real quick. You're getting ready to play in the SEC tournament in Atlanta. There's a tornado come through and damages
The dome,
the
yeah,
dome
the dome,
and
yeah.
all of a sudden you didn't get to play. You didn't get to play that Friday night. I remember watching the game. I remember there was a timeout late in the previous game. And if they didn't call a timeout, people would have left the dome and gotten walked right into the tornado. I remember all of that stuff. But I do remember Georgia having to play an AAU schedule on that Saturday. You had to play two games in the same day in the SEC tournament, correct?
Well, we had to play Kentucky first. I mean, we were supposed to play Kentucky that night, Friday night, and then now all of a sudden we had a big mess because we couldn't go in the dome now, and they had to find a place to play. They found Georgia Tech, and then, as you know, for so many years watching the SEC tournament, you know, it was owned by Kentucky. They bought every ticket for
Yeah, it's
the
the
dome. So
KIT, the Kentucky Invitational
yeah,
Tournament. Yeah.
yeah, and then the next day, of course, they had to restrict all those who could come in. And I remember I was driving in the bus. There were thousands of Kentucky fans who were going to break the doors down because
Oh, I
they
bet
couldn't
they
get
were
in.
irate. Yeah.
So that was, that was just a big plus for us that we didn't have to play against that crowd. And obviously, being the game being at Georgia Tech, we had more people there than normal for the tournament game. Um, and then won the game on Zach Swanson made a shot down the stretch for us to win that game. And then we had to come back 5 hours, 6 hours later against Mississippi State. And I can I can remember Coach Felton said to me, I had that scout, and he said, "Well, when will you have everything ready?" And I said, "Give me an hour or so." And we went back to my room. I kind of laid on the bed. We didn't do much on all the managers. The film guys said to me, "Coach, come on, we got to get this ready." Coach Felton called, "Are you ready?" I said, "Give me another 40 minutes or so." "Well, come on, we got to get going." Okay, finally, the film guys were saying, "Coach, what are you doing?" I said, "Look, we just beat Kentucky. Before that we beat Ole Miss. We're going to me having an extensive long scouting report for Mississippi State is not going to do anything. Our guys are pumped. They're confident. They're going to win tonight, and they're going to play in the final tomorrow. So don't worry about that."
I
You know,
remember. I remembered you all playing a bunch of zone. I remember y'all playing a bunch of zone and just having the it factor and just having that confidence and kind of what you're saying, having confidence, finding that confidence and letting them play. I tell you what I remember about that. I remember your kids having a blast playing the game.
oh, they played great, and Sundiata played great Sundiata games, but he fouled out of the quarterfinal and the semifinals. We had to do that without him. in those games, and that's another tribute to those kids. I mean, John, we lost on Senior Day at home to Ole Miss by 20. We thought, this
The
season is
season's
over.
over.
Yeah, this season is over. I mean, we got killed by them, and then we came back and happened to won that game. Dave Bliss made a shot at the buzzer to win that game in overtime, and then won the next game with Kentucky in overtime. And I mean, Arkansas had a huge team that
But
we played in the finals.
yeah,
I mean,
but you
they
had
were
the magic.
big.
You had the magic by that time.
Oh, we had everything going for us, and Dave Bliss and Albert Jackson matched up with them on the front line and really battled, and we just got play out of everybody. Corey Butler and Terrence Woodbury and Billy Humphrey, and I mean, all the guys were terrific, and it was a once in a lifetime. And you always remember that as a coach, and those guys were terrific.
Yeah, well, we remember it as fans too. All right, Coach. As we finish up here, last thoughts for young coaches. The keys to young coaches. Give these guys, because this is supposed to be a very informative podcast to help these young guys. Even like in the summer, like Coach LaForce used to. I thought this was a good idea. He used to take a topic, whatever topic it was, free throw shooting or under OB offense or under OBD, and study it all summer long so he could be a pro at that topic. Give some young coaches some thoughts and ideas on how they can improve and what they need to do.
Well, see, as a young coach, if you're an assistant now, you have to understand the head coach's philosophy and how he wants to play, and you've got to kind of chip in along the way. You can't be boastful, and you can't say, well, no, we need to do this, coach. You need to know what his philosophy is and help the players to play within that system and play at a confident level. I think that's a key thing, when you're an assistant. When you have your philosophy as a head coach to help the players, you've got to make sure you constantly work on their belief in their skills, that they can do this and that very well, and you want to keep it simple. You don't want to, with like the big players, you don't want to be giving them like all kinds of different moves to get them confident that they're close to the basket, get them confident that they need to relax near the basket, and one move and a counter, and get with the players as much as you can outside of practice, where you're constantly working on their game.
Go back. Go back. Last thing. Go back because I'm a big believer of this. I remember when I first started. Well, when I first started, Richard Johnson at Wofford made me post coach. I was in a panic. I went down and I didn't know it all, so I went to Don Meyer's post perimeter camp just to watch them, and I understood that really you didn't need a post move. You just needed to know how to seal and how to get position. And then I went through, you had to have 75 different post moves. And then I watched Davidson, and then had a chance to coach for 9 years against Bob McKillop. And really, people, just remember Davidson being really good with Steph Curry. They were really good before Steph Curry. And he really had, they had one move and a counter. So they taught those kids to let's bounce it, let's get to the middle, and let's jump hook it. And if you take that away, we're going to drop step and we're going to shoot layup. And they didn't have anything else. That was it.
No, and there was no one better than Don Meyer. And I went and saw him too and talked to him about the post players, because I got thrown in the Olympic Festival with Shaquille and they had David and they had Vernon and they had Junior Burrow at Virginia. And
yep.
Everything was about the footwork and sealing, and I'll tell you what, I watched a team last night, and I saw you're not seeing much with the big guys in today's game. But I watched a team last night that went to their big guys, and that's Wofford.
Yep.
Mike Young's team,
Well,
they went to the
Mike's
big
about
guys.
95 years old now. All right, so I mean he's old school. He's old school. He'll throw that thing inside. I tell you who else who's really if young coaches want to watch guys who can seal is watch Tennessee play. So Grant Williams on their break, Grant Williams does a great job of sealing inside. Alexander does a pretty good job, but Grant Williams is phenomenal at playing against. Where do you post up? Don't post up on the block. You post up where your man is and go post that guy up.
And he's only about 6'6".
Yes.
Grant Williams, but he's a smart kid and a very, from what everybody says, a very good kid, and has learned. And it's obvious that the coaching staff has good rapport with him and with the other players because they're playing that way.
Yeah, and
I just think that's the thing. You try to fit in, do the job where you are, and fit in. Don't be trying to take over. Be a part of what's going on. I get called. Mike Jones calls me all the time, and Radford, and all the guys I've been with, and they want to share things, and I just think it's a great game. Keep teaching it to the players who want to learn, and you'll be fine in coaching.
Well, I like what I just pick up what you're saying. Listen, what Coach Herrmann's saying. Yeah, I mean, you got Mike Jones, who is a high-level basketball coach, went to the NCAA tournament last year, probably should have gone back again this year. But everybody needs somebody. So who do you have? Who do you have when things? I remember when I struggled. Very simple. I call Eddie Fogler. I call Coach Fogler. I said, Coach, help me out of this. Everybody needs somebody. And it doesn't matter if you're Coach K or you're Mike Jones or you're Pete Herrmann or John Schulman. You got to have somebody to call and find an older guy, find a mentor that can help you because they've been through it. We're not smarter, but we're wiser because we've made the same stupid mistakes that you're making right now, and that's how we can help. Coach Herrmann, you're awesome.
Well, I'll tell you this, John. It's the ultimate team game, and you can't be an individual, and not be a major part of your team and be successful. You're all in it for the same purpose. Your team has to develop. Your coaching staff, your team, they're all part of one group. And you just like you just said, you need each other.
Well,
all the time, every day.
Every single day. Every single day, and there's some coaches out there who will pit one assistant against the other. And are you getting players? Who's getting all the players? I think that really promotes a chemistry problem amongst the staff. I know you can be competitive, and that's fine, but everybody needs to be on the same page. Everybody needs to be going in the same direction. And when you do that, you better have good staff chemistry. Are you a chemistry guy? Are you a cancer on that staff? Are you an energy giver or an energy vampire? What are you? But Coach, you've been phenomenal. We've taken too much time. I know you got a tough day ahead. What you got? Golf? You got relaxation? What do you got today?
Well, we have got a little time at the beach today. It's 80 degrees and nice. My sister is down from Buffalo, New York, and we got to take.
So you're going to the beach?
Going to the beach. Yep.
Do me a favor. I hadn't seen you in a couple years, but just keep your shirt on because you'll drive all those ladies crazy if you take your shirt. So keep your shirt on and do what you're supposed to do and enjoy your beach time.
Okay.
Hey, all Coach, right, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your knowledge, and we appreciate you. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Okay. All right. Thanks, John.
Yes, sir.